Welcome to the Secure Attachment Code podcast. My name is Tracy Malone, and in this episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about our identity. Have you ever wondered who you are when you're no longer performing, who the world rewarded you for being? I'm going to say that again so it lands for you. Have you ever wondered who you are when you are no longer performing what the world rewarded you for being? It's a good question, isn't it? So many people are having an identity crisis right now, which is why I am doing this episode. But I don't think it's actually an identity crisis. I think it might be an identity remembering. In order to talk about what an identity crisis is, we really need to go over what identity actually is. Most people think identity is your career, your relationship status, your parenting role, your achievements, your productivity, and your usefulness to the world. If you are wondering how you see yourself right now, you can do this little exercise. It was actually a question that I posed in my last newsletter that went out. Describe yourself without saying a single thing that you do. So if I describe myself, when I used to describe myself, I would always say I'm a mother first and a single parent first, or a sole parent. And I spent so much time playing with the words that made that feel right for me because it was such a big part of my identity. I would say what I do, where I live. I would say I'm a secure attachment expert or a somatic trauma coach, or I'm trained in family constellations, polyvagal theory, holistic counseling, and I do these things and I help people to move towards secure attachment and heal their trauma. I live in Brisbane, in the northwest of Brisbane, in the Samford Valley, in Australia. I might say my age. I'm a 50-year-old woman currently, going through menopause. There's all of these things that I'm using to describe myself, and none of them get to the core of who I am. They're all what I do more so. So maybe you might like to, as I was doing that, I'm hoping you were going through in your mind and doing that yourself as well, because it's really indicative of how much of your identity is tied to what you do. And if your identity is tied to what you do, then you're amongst 99.9% of the population, because that's what we are trained to do. Those things that I just mentioned about myself and others, they're experiences and expressions. They're not the core self. Most of us weren't actually taught to be, and we weren't taught who we truly are. In our formative years, when we were building our sense of self and our identity, we were taught to perform attachment. We were taught to perform in order to get the sense of belonging. We were never taught to simply be. We were never told we were perfect as we are. And every time we were rewarded for what it is that we did in order to belong, the good girls, the good boy, the well done, all of those things, a need within us was unmet. And that unmet need is the core for ongoing trauma later in life. These moments of trauma and unmet need, they often create identity adaptations. If you've listened to my last podcast episode on why healthy habits are so hard to maintain, you'll know that I spoke in there about positive reinforcement and the positive reinforcement we get from our caregivers when we're very young and our attachment style is being created, and how that builds behaviours and adaptive strategies to get more reinforcement to give us the dopamine hit of belonging and safety. And so if you want to dive more into that, please go and have a listen to my last episode. When we're creating these identity adaptations, we unconsciously become the good girl, the good boy, the achiever, the fixer, the funny one, the naughty one, the hard one, the invisible one, the caretaker, the successful one, the spiritual one, the different one, the black sheep. These identities helped us create belonging and safety. Even if we identify as the hard one or the black sheep, we then belong to another system where the black sheep belong. So there is a spiritual community that come together because they were all the black sheep of their family. And now they create their own system of belonging where all the black sheeps come together. Or all the hard ones, the children who were deemed the hard ones come together. The rebels all come together. So these identities really did help create belonging and safety. The nervous system, our body, our mind, and the environment around us, being society at large, mistakes attachment strategies for personality. Here are some of the strategies that actually become our identity. So I am needed becomes an identity. I am successful becomes an identity. I am helpful becomes an identity. I am strong becomes an identity. I am kind becomes an identity. If you have a think about all of the things that you use for affirmations, the things that you are, the things that you want to be, they often have the words I am before them. And I consistently now challenge the word I am. And I put a descriptive word in there. I am helpful becomes I'm good at helping. I enjoy helping others. It's very different to I am helpful. I am helpful is a very strong identity. I enjoy helping is a little more descriptive, and it doesn't attach to my identity. It's something I do. It's not something I am. I am needed becomes I feel like I'm the one who has what is needed in this situation. I feel like I am the one who is needed to do the thing that is required in this situation. Can you feel the difference between them? I am needed is an identity. The other is a description. I am strong. This is one that I was labelled with when I was younger. People I went to school with said, I just remember you being so strong. And I laugh so much. I was terrified most of my childhood. I was in fight or flight mode all the time. So those moments that I was looking strong, I was in fight mode. Absolutely 100% of the time. I was not strong. I was reacting to preserve safety from a stress response. And if I'm labelled I am strong, then what happens on the days where I'm not feeling strong? I have strength. I am capable of being strong when needed. Feel the difference between I am strong and I'm feeling strong today. I am capable of great strength when needed. For those who are thinking, God, it's just semantics, I invite you to go deeper, because it's not. It's really important to understand and be careful of the words that you put after I am. When you brand yourself with the identities of the I am, strong, helpful, successful, wealthy, needed, all of the things that I've just kind of listed and more, hopefully you've listed your own, there might be a real terror, a real fear around being ordinary, around resting, around failing or perceived failure, because I don't believe there is such a thing as failure. but there is a perception of failure. You might be fearful of disappointing people or simply existing when your deep belief is you have to earn love. In order to belong and in order to be worthy, you have to do and be something else. You have to be doing something. You can't be loved simply for existing. I'm not enough if I'm existing because I don't get rewarded for simply existing. My reward pathways and my adaptive strategies were built around doing something. All of these strategies that we've built around our identity and our I am only get us so far. And then we enter the dark night of the soul. This is where we understand that how we have been living our life up until now is unsustainable. We actually end up in burnout. We end up in divorce. We end up as an empty nester when the kids leave home and we think, who actually am I? My entire identity and being has been linked to raising my children, and I have done such an excellent job at raising them. They're so independent that they're off in the world doing their own thing, and I'm left here wondering, who even am I? Financial struggle is often built around an identity of struggle through the family system, and that identity keeps you belonging in your current family system. So if your family were not financially successful and they always financially struggled, and then you become the one who is financially successful, you no longer belong and fit into that system the way you did when you lived the same life that they did. Chronic illness often comes to the surface when you're having an identity crisis. Nervous system shutdown. This is where there's too much stress around trying to hold up this identity, and the body collapses into dorsal vagal shutdown, freeze, fawn, and dissociate because it cannot hold the pretense anymore. It's the moment where people have their spiritual awakening. It's something that hopefully a lot of people go through in their lifetime. It's moments of deep grief and not really understanding what your grief is going through. Or if you have a big event happen in your life where you can attach that grief to, but you don't come out of the grief cycle. Something happened and it throws you so far off your path that you go into the dark night of the soul. Menopause is a great one to give you an identity crisis because all of the hormones in your body that told you your job was to look after other people, they're all gone now. And all of the hormone patterns that come into your body says, it's time for you now. It's time to tell everyone no, and it's time for you to get a bit angry, and it's time for you to do things differently. When you go into this moment of a dark night of the soul, your old identity stops working. And it doesn't stop working because it's trying to punish you. It's an invitation. A nervous system cannot heal while constantly performing survival identities. I think one of the biggest, most important questions we could ask ourselves in our lifetime is, who am I really? I went through a stage a few years ago where I just consistently asked myself this question, and I entered what I would call a true spiritual awakening, where I went deep into who am I really? Who am I without this story? And the questions we consistently ask ourselves are, who am I if I'm not productive? What if nobody actually needs me in my life? Who am I then? Who am I if I stop rescuing people? If I stop rescuing my friends? If I stop rescuing my family? If I stop rescuing my adult or young adult children? What if I let them figure it out for themselves and just held a space for them? Who am I then? Who am I if I fail? Then what society calls a failure. Who am I if I'm not successful? So if you have a job that you feel is your identity, who are you if you no longer do that job? Who am I if I disappoint people? What if I don't say yes? What if I disappoint somebody by saying no? Who am I then? Who am I if I actually rest? Who am I if I allow myself to do nothing for a while? Not a single productive thing at all. Who am I when I'm alone? When you go through this identity crisis, there is an element of grief that will come up, especially if you are a parent, especially if you are leaving one vocation and moving into another, especially if you're about to become an empty nester or you're heading into menopause. Who are you, really? And the grief that comes from no longer being able to sustain what it is that you thought you were before. Identity shifts so often feel like a death of sorts, and it's not a physical death. It's the death of the ego. And the word ego has been tossed around and misused for decades now, and it's something I am very passionate about changing. Your ego is not a part of you that people use against yourself and you say, oh, but that's just my ego. My ego wants to be seen. My ego wants a better job. My ego wants this. That's not true. That's an inner child part of you wanting to be seen and acknowledged and valued. What your ego is, it's the part of you that believes you are what you do. Your ego is the part of you that believes that you are your name. So, for example, my ego believes that I am Tracy Malone and I am a human being and I am separate from everything else in this world, and that is all I am. You might notice if you go back and look at any recording I've ever done, I don't say I am Tracy Malone. I say my name is Tracy Malone, because Tracy Malone is not who I am. It's an identity that's been given to me by my parents and by the world around me. It's not actually who I really am. And so the death of an ego in these moments of identity crisis really feels like a massive grieving moment, because it is. There is a big difference between who I became and who I actually am. And it's adaptations, the adaptive strategies that we've built versus the essence of who you truly are. It's the protective self, the part of us that we've built to adapt to the rooms around us. We walk into a room and change ourselves to fit, versus our authentic self. It's performance, how we perform in the world, what we are doing to perform in the world, versus our presence of who we are. And it's attachment, the attachment style that was created from conception to the age of 2, versus the actual truth of who we really are. Healing and becoming securely attached is not becoming someone new. It's removing what was never truly you in the first place and understanding the depth of who you are really. Because before labels, there was this awareness. And before performance, there was an aliveness to you. There was a light to you. There was an inner spark to your soul. Before the role, there was presence. You were able just to be present in the moment without feeling like you had to do anything. The I am, the true I am, it's not your achievements. It's not your trauma. It's not your relationship status. It's not your bank account balance. It's not your productivity. It's not your attachment strategy or style. The I am is the self under the conditioning. The deepest healing work I see is not people becoming more impressive. It's people becoming more real. And there's a beauty and an authenticity to that when people can drop into their body and be who they truly are. And it's such a blessing and a gift to the world. And as you may have seen through my work before, authenticity is really hard. It's not an easy thing to be. We have to unravel so many adaptive strategies in order to actually be authentic and feel safe to be authentic. People pleasing, the fawn response, it's often protected attachment. Masking is protected belonging. Overworking is protected worthiness. Overgiving is protected connection. So when people work with me and start becoming authentic, lots of things rise. The guilt rises, the fear rises, the grief appears, the rage appears, loneliness can appear, the feeling of not belonging and being the black sheep can appear, not because authenticity is wrong, but because the body remembers what authenticity once cost. So as you move towards secure attachment and really looking at your identity and challenging your idea of what identity has been up until this point, there are signs and signals along the way that you're moving into this phase of life. And it's where you genuinely and honestly need less external validation. You stop over-explaining yourself. So sometimes you might feel like, no, and just let me explain why it's a no. And you give them this entire backstory, true or otherwise, as to why you need to qualify your no. And what changes, rest becomes less shameful. So you actually can lay down and rest or sit back and rest without feeling the need to do something, to go for a dopamine hit. You don't get that little cortisol spike that says, okay, let's move. You can actually just rest and be in the present moment. You disappoint people more honestly, because saying no to people can really disappoint them. But you are able to maintain your sense of authenticity and self within that saying no, and you can leave them with their disappointment and not have to change or fix them in any way. You stop shape-shifting to fit rooms. You stop walking into a room, reading it energetically, and then becoming what the room needs. You can actually walk in as your authentic self, feel those nervous systems that are offline and in stress and a bit of a threat, and just leave them to it. It's a really powerful moment. You become quieter internally. So the thoughts that are going by in your head that are telling you that you're not good enough, etc., they all become more calm and kinder. Your body softens. You're not carrying as much tension in your body, and you really begin to crave simplicity, and you start to build a foundation on the truth of who you are and what you want, not anyone else's expectations. Your no becomes cleaner, You stop chasing identities and changing yourself to see if this would fit you better. And you feel more present than performative. I often say to people, healing your trauma isn't some big light at the end of the tunnel where $1 million drops into your bank account and everyone goes, oh. The gift it gives you is being in the present moment. It gives you back this moment because most people are either in the future or in the past or in a stress response. And you get to be in ventral vagal safety. You get to be present in the world around you, and you get to maintain who you are no matter what other people do around you. I invite you to do an exercise now. And it's the one I spoke about earlier. Describe yourself without speaking about what it is that you do. I've actually done this exercise myself, so I'm going to read this to you. Because I sat down and went, well, who am I really without all the things that I do? So I would say, hi, my name is Tracy. I'm someone who lives at a real depth. I really notice what's underneath things. And I really love to meet the part of people that's underneath, that real authentic part, no matter what it is. I can read patterns, nervous systems, and rooms really quickly, especially the subconscious ones that people don't even realize that they have. I have always been deeply perceptive. There is something in me that is able to read things, which is now a gift, but earlier in my life was a complete pain in the ass, to be honest. I many times thought I was going crazy because of the things I was thinking and feeling. I do carry a very strong protective instinct. So if something was about to happen to anyone that I love, be it my family, my animals, etc., I have a very strong protective instinct and an ability to work well under that deep stress and to know what needs to happen and to make it happen. I'm also someone, I value truth over comfort. So when I was talking before about being able to see and live at that deep level, when people are honest with me, my whole nervous system rests. Not that they need me to fix them or change them or anything like that, just being deeply honest about what I can feel is going on in their body anyway. I have quite a high emotional intelligence level, like a highly tuned internal compass that hasn't steered me wrong. The only time I've ever been steered wrong is when I ignore that internal compass. I am a bit sweary. I like to swear. And I have an absolute rebellious streak. Let's not even get started about how I feel about things like Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, and other Hallmark-scented days. I have very strong rebellious streaks against things like that, about things that just don't make sense to me. I'm deeply creative, and that's a superpower, not a bad thing. I can very easily go off on creative tangents. And I do have a strength that I didn't know I had when I was younger. I had what looked like strength when I was younger, but now, after everything I've been through in my life, I have this deep sense of strength and a deep knowing of how capable I really am. So that's my version of describing myself. And I wonder what it is that you'll come up with. And if you want to share that with me, please do. Social media, you can DM me. You can email me through my website. You can comment on this podcast. I'd really love to hear from you. And please know that my work, everything I do in my work, helps you move towards this authentic self and drop the I am that you have been performing for your entire life and slowly and safely move towards who you are really. So please know that you do not have to earn your existence through exhaustion, performance, fixing, productivity, or proving. You have nothing to prove to anyone at all. in order to be worthy. You are worthy because you exist. You are enough for this world and in this world exactly as you are, without anything that you do. Underneath every role, every mask, every adaptive strategy, there is still you. The real you was never actually lost, they were just protected. If you would like extra support, you know where to find me. Check me out at tracymalone.co. I work with people via online courses. If you want to do self-led learning, you can join the Self-Healer Tribe, my monthly membership where I go live weekly. Or you can work with me one-on-one. And for now, I hope you explore the idea of who am I really? And please know that this world is a better place with you in it. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the Secure Attachment Code podcast.